What is up? Rap here, is bitch like in the course, and yo, we about to react to a new video from Game Theorists, which they said FNAF just got a reboot. I don't know what they're gonna talk about FNAF VR Help Wanted. Don't know what they're gonna talk about. This intro ain't gonna be long. If you're new, hi, I'm Rap PM. This is the PM crew, which we have 23 subscribers. Yeah, I've been here for months now. I'm not that consistent in content on this channel, so if I don't post that much, don't blame me. I'm right here just waiting for something else. I have planned for something like two weeks ahead. I'm gonna do an album reaction and review. No, I'm not gonna do a review. I can't review shit. But anyway, hope you enjoy this video, and without further ado, let's get it.
Ready to have your mind blown by FNAF yet again?
Yep.
Let's do a little trick, shall we?
Aye.
I'm in the process of currently downloading and installing brand new copies of each and every one of the FNAF games, so you all know that we're working with a blank slate here. But the games that we're specifically interested in are FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night, the free ones. Huzzah for not having to buy these games for literally like the fourth time. Let me just open up both of these on the computer to show you that we are working with absolutely clean and fresh copies of both these games. Open up FNAF World. The first time that we open this, we should get that cutscene of the two yellow beady eyes telling us that something has happened out in the world. There it is. We're just gonna wait here a second while that dramatically plays. We hit start, and you can see here, literally nothing on screen, right? We have slots 1, 2, and 3, all empty, no trophies along the bottom. And that's the important point here, right? Each time you beat the game, you get a different trophy along the bottom based on what ending you got. So notice 0 trophies, 0 endings, 0 gameplay. Okay, so we're gonna X out of that as well. Fantastic. Hopping on over to Ultimate Custom Night, there is no high scores unlocked. We have no power-ups that have been given to us. Our office is the default office. Nothing, right? No creepy cutscenes of Toy Chica in her skimpy school uniform. Nothing. We are clean to go. Nada. Now, let me set the scene for you, right? If you think back to the release of Ultimate Custom Night, we were all really excited to see who would be included in this mega list of who's who in the FNAF universe. This big final game to celebrate the ending of the series, burning things to the ground at the end of FNAF 6. Some of the inclusions were obvious, right? Like the 70-plus versions of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Springtrap, Golden Freddy, and the Puppet, right? They're in practically every game. They're super important to the lore of the games. No big surprises there. But then, when the roster kept expanding, you got to some weird inclusions, right? You got yourself Music Man over here. Why? El Chip, which is basically just a glorified reference to like one of his failed games before Five Nights at Freddy's. Strange, sapient pile of garbage over here. Like, not people that you would immediately think of as being included in the like must-have list of characters in this franchise. But of them all, there was one inclusion that felt the strangest of all to me. This one right here. Old Man Consequences from FNAF World. A character who, if you're not super familiar with that particular game, is your punishment for going too deep into the code of the game. You see, FNAF World is a video game that's aware that it's a game, right? And throughout the adventure, you repeatedly have to dive into these glitches to unlock new parts of the world. But you're repeatedly warned against going more than 3 layers deep into those glitches. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped there forever. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what happens if you don't heed the warnings. You wind up at Old Man Consequences Lake, trapped. What makes it so weird to see him here, though, in Ultimate Custom Night, is that FNAF World is a game that Scott has largely disowned. He's embarrassed of it. And it's a game that's ultimately been dismissed by the fan base as non-canon, in part because of those reasons, but also in part because it seems more closely tied to the book lore than it is to the game lore. And yet, here he is. Old Man Consequences in Ultimate Custom Night, alongside characters that are definitely canonical in a game that is also canonical, right? It has the canonical ending of William Afton suffering eternal torment at the hands of Golden Freddy. It's almost like Scott Cawthon is telling us that Old Man Consequences is implicitly canonical. He's canonical by association. So, why do I bring all this up? Well, there's an Easter egg in Custom Night that you've probably seen back when people were playing that game,
yeah,
right?
that
You
one,
set
that one,
Old
that
Man
one.
Consequences to a difficulty level of 1, and you start your night. Gonna turn off the fan, and here we sit. There's no one here to attack us outside of Old Man Consequences, so hopefully he shows up. Oh, and here's Dee Dee, who has, by proxy of doing this, ruined our opportunity to unlock this Easter egg, so we're going to
I had a feeling that
restart.
would happen.
Please Alt for this game. We're gonna try again. Reset the ventilation, thank you. Oh, there is. Boom. Good. So now, here we go, right? We're falling, quote unquote, falling through the source code of the game. We wind up here. This is Old Man Consequences Lake, right? You may have seen this Easter egg during people's gameplays, but here we go. We go to Old Man Consequences over here, and he gives us his line. Come and sit with me a while. Leave the demon to his demons. Rest your soul. There's nothing else. We concluded in one of our past theories about Ultimate Custom Night that this is Old Man Consequences talking to the vengeful spirit that exists inside Golden Freddy, trying to tell him, hey dude, chill out, move on with your afterlife. Just let William Afton suffer on his own. Because if you listen to the audio that's playing in the background of this scene, you can definitely hear him suffering. Well, it's either his tormented screams or, you know, Scott Cawthon shouting through a fan. Now, most people seeing this Easter egg would be like, well, now what do I do? There's nothing else. I guess I gotta restart the game. Alt F4. And already this would be a really cool, really elaborate Easter egg. However, for those of us who have played through and know FNAF World better than we probably should, we know that there is one final thing that you can do in this scene, right? You can move on over to the top of the lake and you can drown yourself. Now, in that game, when you did this, it would actually reveal a secret ending that is completely hidden from that game's texture files. It shows a person standing alongside two smaller figures in front of this flashing TV screen. It's a parent and their two kids, or at least that's as much as I can make of it, right? And sure enough, you can actually do the same thing here in Ultimate Custom Night, going into the lake and drowning yourself. Except here, it ultimately crashes the game. Going deep into the lake. Uh-oh, I'm trapped in the water. Oh no! It's like quicksand. It's not so much a lake as it is quicksand, but here we go. We're going down into the lake, deeper, 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 and it crashes the game, right? We're back to the home screen. No hidden ending or Easter egg there. But here's where things get crazy. Instead of me booting up Ultimate Custom Night again, we're gonna hop back over to that brand new, fresh, clean copy of FNAF World that I showed you earlier. Here we go, FNAF World. We have not played this game whatsoever. And we hit start. Wouldn't you know it? Without playing a second of this game, look what suddenly appeared on our menu screen. A trophy that you unlock in FNAF World by visiting Old Man Consequences Lake. In other words, these two games, but more importantly, in the lore of this franchise, these two worlds are connected.
Yeah, linked.
Somehow.
Shit.
But what does all this mean? That, my friends, is our episode for today. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the channel where it's always April considering the number of Easter egg hunts we go on. So, that connection between FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night was originally discovered by Reddit user Roxas Lucario, and it ultimately hinges on an info file that collects variable information from across the various games. For instance, the first time you start up FNAF World, you're presented with an opening cutscene.
Something went very wrong. That's why I'm here. I will put you back together.
Great, awesome. Go to the info page after seeing that creepy opening cutscene, and suddenly the trigger first is activated, presumably telling the game that you've seen that scene once before, so for all subsequent playthroughs, you don't have to see it again. That's how these sorts of variables work. But what's weird, though, is that the trigger for this drowned ending and unlocking the trophy is titled Beat Game 4, which might just mean it's the fourth ending of FNAF World, fine, but why then would Scott use that exact same variable name in Ultimate Custom Night? It's not like there's multiple endings in that game, and it's not like Ultimate Custom Night is the fourth game in the franchise. Him using that exact same variable name suggests that the connection between the two was very much intentional, and that, my friends, is just scratching the surface. Because this small but very, very important Easter egg starts laying the groundwork for where this series is ultimately headed moving forward. Where FNAF VR clearly left off, and where the new FNAF AR game, Special Delivery, releasing this October, is taking us next. Oh yeah, didn't you know? There's a new FNAF AR game and it's right around the corner. There's a trailer for it and everything. Because my torment is year-round and unceasing. Looks like we're gonna end up playing hide and seek with a bunch of animatronics, but more on that one in a minute. FNAF World was a game that was largely ignored by us theorists because, well, look at it.
I can play.
Get tired of my voice, will you?
Tell me in the comments if you want me to play.
But in all seriousness, for all the memes lol this franchise has, it's never been particularly meta. The lore, on the whole, was its own self-contained story within this fictional universe. The only times things got truly meta was in FNAF World, which sure helped us to predict the appearance of Baby and Henry into the mainline games, but it was also the game where Scott Cawthon literally appears as the final boss, complaining about how sick he was of pumping out new games for our insatiable appetite for animatronic death. Scott, you're our mama bird, my friend. Puke that sweet, sweet lore down into my gullet. But you can see why most of us would take this as a joke, right? Scott isn't a character in the FNAF universe, so it has to be just another game for the lols. Except now, Scott is a character in the games. As of FNAF VR, it's revealed to us that Scott, since the beginning, has played a critical role in the lore of the FNAF universe.
We know that Fazbear Entertainment has developed something of a bad reputation over the last few decades. And while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
If that wasn't explicit enough, the secret tapes hidden throughout the game make it even clearer.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer who supposedly made up a bunch of crazy stories that tarnished the brand.
Don't have to tell me twice, that rogue indie developer is obviously Scott. That's just where it begins, because FNAF World was trying to tell us something else about where this franchise was headed. Video games crossing into the real world and vice versa. You see, FNAF World is a lot of things. A lot of things. But its main plot revolves around the aftermath of FNAF 4. We're told when we first boot up the game that something has happened out there in the real world, and it's having an effect in here, the sanctuary, the world of this particular game. From there, the rest of the game features a main quest that's completely hidden. You could go through this entire game and never come across the actual real plot of this thing. The only way that you would know about this is by accidentally lingering on the first dialogue boxes of the game, which in turn releases glitched 8-bit Fredbear. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Who we gonna call? Glitched 8-bit Fredbear. This, in turn, unlocks separate missions to find clocks, and it's here that we find our first instance of video game to real-life crossover. You see, each clock is a minigame that connects back to FNAF 3, and all the individual steps necessary to unlock the Happiest Day cutscene. That game's good and canonical ending. If you think way back to that game, it always bothered me that punching random blocks on a wall or double-clicking a random poster in your real-life security office was somehow allowing us to put the spirits of the dead children to rest. But FNAF World gave us an explanation even though we ignored it back at the time. FNAF World, the game world, or more accurately, the spirits that are trapped existing in that game's code, were able to push out and affect changes IRL through those clock minigames. That's how you get these kind of video gamey moments in what is otherwise a realistic, albeit haunted setting. Now, why is any of this important? Why are we talking about it now so many years after these games were first released? Well, because it's only starting to matter now. It's exactly what we saw happen at the end of FNAF VR Help Wanted. That game established sentient code that was looking to escape from its video game prison.
It was just junk, circuit boards and things like that. Looked pretty old. Somehow, though, there was usable code on some of it. It seemed to take hold by itself. things started changing.
What I'm saying here is that in the official lore of the series, official lore that is apparently dating back further than we would have expected, computer code is somehow able to store the minds or spirits or whatever of these characters and eventually rebirth them out into the real world if the right steps are taken. See also Petscop. And in FNAF VR, we see an instance of this happening. William Afton, who was trapped in the circuit boards, was released into the code of this new game, Help Wanted, where he then took the form of Glitch Trap until finally, through us playing the game and collecting the tapes and putting the pieces back together, was able to escape again. But this time, he was able to escape not just from circuit boards, but out into the real world. All of it, all of this goes back to the story that FNAF World was trying to tell us years ago. The story that we all didn't take seriously because the final boss was literally an impervious rainbow.
Are you kidding? Come on. What the? What?
I'm only just realizing it now, but Help Wanted is actually a cute and really brilliant name. I mean, we all thought it was help in terms of like a want ad, right? Help as a video game tester, which is the core premise of the game, but it's also Help Wanted. Glitch Trap wanted. Heck, he needed our help in order to escape. So, well done, Scott. Good name. Just like Pizzeria Simulator rips on the idea of simulator games, but really it's an empty box waiting as a trap to catch the final animatronics and burn them alive. Or how Sister Location is all about a separate but related robotics business, but also about a key character's sister, maybe, question mark. Well done, Scott, well done. Slow clap. Now, you might be thinking, wow, malicious code, people trapped in video games? This sounds nothing like the original story that started off this whole franchise. And yeah, that's entirely the point. The old story of Five Nights at Freddy's was, at least in part, a complete lie.
They lied to us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Fazbear Entertainment hired the game developer. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Let me rephrase what we just heard. Scott is one of the bad guys. Based on the lore in Help Wanted, he was hired on by Fazbear Entertainment to create the FNAF games, give us the spooky ghost stories that exist within them, and in turn distract us from the real truth. Distract us away from what Fazbear's goals really were. He was lying to us. If FNAF VR's tapes are to be believed, pretty much everything we know from the first 3, at least, but maybe even 4, 5, heck, 6 games could all be thrown out as complete fabrications created by Scott Cawthon for the sole reason because he was paid off by Fazbear Entertainment. This thing, Glitch Trap, might not even be a recreation of someone named William Afton. Heck, William Afton might not even exist. Though, to be honest, he probably does since he's mentioned by name at the beginning of FNAF Sister Location, and FNAF VR seems to replicate his original crimes pretty darn closely. So I'm gonna assume that some of that is actually true. The long story short here is that FNAF VR, in making Scott part of the Fazbear cover-up, is the franchise's way of rebooting the story for the next generation, telling us that with FNAF VR, we're starting an entirely new lore. In disowning Scott's story as lies, it's explicitly telling us that everything we've known up to this point is wrong. It's a distraction. Instead, the real story, the story that's going to be told to us via the next generation of Five Nights at Freddy's games, is carrying forward the core themes and ideas that were first introduced to us back in FNAF World. A story of video games, code, all coming to life and crossing over into the real world. And funny enough, if we look back to FNAF World, it was trying to tell us the truth about this theme the entire time. As 8-Bit Glitch Bear tells us in that game, don't be deceived by the one pulling the strings. It's why Scott is technically the final boss of the game, but the true ending, the clock ending that unlocks the key Easter eggs from FNAF 3, it has nothing to do with him at all. It's entirely disconnected from why Scott is there. Again, the indie developer known as Scott Cawthon within the FNAF lore is trying to distract us away from the truth of what we should be doing in these games. And if you think I'm reading too much into this, think again. Scott is trying to clue us back into the importance of FNAF World. As many of you know, Scott has his website, scottgames.com, where there's always some new teaser image and stuff hidden in the source code. And on there right now is a a really cool teaser for the next FNAF game coming out in 2020. Clearly, by looking at it, it's a FNAF Stranger Things crossover, considering the 1980s era neon-themed mall straight out of season 3 of that show. But what's a little less well known, though, is Scott's second site, FNAFworld.com, which has been dormant for a really long time. Dormant, at least until a month ago. You see, it was updated to have a big old number 58 smack dab in the middle of it. And when you brighten things up, because you always brighten things up when you're given something by Scott Cawthon, you see a bunch of funny reviews appear for whatever this new game is going to end up being. Now, the number 58 might seem like it's completely random, right? A weird, mysterious number, but it's actually not. It all goes back to, you guessed it, FNAF World. In that game, there's a playable demo for the latest unreleased FNAF game, Freddy in Space. That game's number, installment number 57. Meaning that Scott's next project, or at least one of his next projects coming out in a few months, is going to be another wacky minigame with lore connections potentially hidden inside of it. In fact, if FNAF 57 Freddy in Space is to be believed, as you play through it in FNAF World, the next installment is going to be titled Poopits in Space, which sounds completely dumb, but you saw those hidden reviews. They were not super positive about whatever FNAF 58 is shaping up to be. And heck, you don't even have to take it from me. It is coming straight from Scott's own disembodied head floating in a jar from that game. Like I said, FNAF World is weird. And we are still not done. The idea of games and code, digital horrors crossing over into the real world is becoming more explicit in his other new game that he's working on. The one that we know is releasing this October. FNAF Special Delivery, an augmented reality title that, based on the trailer and the title, will have animatronics being dropped off into your house. Sure, the idea of using your phone to see the animatronics roaming around your home might just seem like a fun, quirky new way to play these sorts of games, but from a lore standpoint, you wouldn't be surprised if what this is actually doing is forwarding the core themes of the new direction for the story of these games. Deadly characters starting off as harmless pieces of code and then escaping out into the real world through your device. It's happened with Glitch Trap. By the nature of augmented reality, it's literally happening again in this game. Any way you slice it, the lines between reality and fiction are getting blurrier. And it's Scott and FNAF World, of all things, that are serving as the bridge linking those two worlds. It all started coming to a head with FNAF VR, but starting this October, don't be surprised if this franchise, as we know it, really starts to change. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Me put up the...
Okay, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like, comment. Alright, hold on. I got something for the comment section now. Okay. If you're here right now at this timestamp, you're the GOAT. I love you guys. Awesome. Thanks for giving me a chance with your attention. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, alright, for the comment section, I want you to tell me which of the Five Nights at Freddy's it's more scary. Like, the most scariest Five Nights at Freddy you've ever seen or played. Mine is FNAF 4. That was freaking creepy, man. One of the most creepiest games I've ever seen, man. It's very creepy, and besides that, its sister location that give me a creeps, man. The first time I seen that game, damn, I couldn't sleep at night. But anyway, I'm about to end the video now. So I love you guys. Keep doing you. Keep being lit. Be happy, and yeah. Peace.